Hi, this is Joe Bolen, and welcome to learning about VisualBasic.net. Well, we've been working on a text editor project, and we're ready now to deploy our text editor project with just a few last tweaks to be done before we do so. But before we get started, let's take a look at where our documentation is for this project and for other projects. The main documentation is at pastebin.com/u/jboh. There you'll see the source code for this program as well as for other videos that I've produced, so you can get an idea of how to produce the text editor that we've done in this video series. Also, you can download that code if you'd like and use it to modify your own text editor project and learn more about the code and what it can do. Also, we have the main screen for the text editor out in Imager, and you can take a look at it to help you in designing your own program. And also, you can visit YouTube at Bolen Presents to see other videos as well as follow the whole series of this text editor's design. Well, let's get into our project and get it finished up. I have on the screen right now the Windows Designer up, and we're going to do as our first task to get ready for things is to brand our project. And right now the icon up here is our generic icon for this form. We're going to change that, and so I'm going to come over to the properties window where the icon is defined and click on it, and I'll have an ellipsis button. I'm going to click that ellipsis button, which will bring up me a file dialog, and I'm going to quickly paste in, and I'm going to go get my icon, which is right there, and I'm going to click on it and pull it in. Now this icon that I'm using is a multi-layered icon. It includes both 16 by 16 and 32 by 32, as well as other pixel sizes for my project. So you'll see me using basically one icon. You can use other icons, but for the icons for in the project of a form or of the caption area, you'll want to use at least a 16 by 16 or a 32 by 32 pixel size. So I pulled that in, and now we've got the branding of my program such. Now, one of the other things we want to look at, and I've done this also for all the other forms, one of the things I want to look at is the icon itself, and I want to make certain as I go up to the resource folder that it's available. And one of the things I've done here is I've clicked on the icon in the resource folder, and one of the things I want to make certain, which I've already done, is make certain the build action is content and it is copy if newer, so that if I change the icon, it'll go out to the area where the build is being done, either in the release or in the debug area, so that I always have the icon there to use. And this is especially important as we look at an Xcopy deployment where we might want to take advantage of having the icon to make a shortcut later on. Well, we've got that set, so our resources set. Now we have a few things in our code. I'm going to go over to the main form code, and we're going to clean up. And I'm going to go full screen at this point so you can see it. One of the things in our code is in the help area, and what I have done is commented out the ones we used during our design, and have gone with one about box for the help menu. So I'm not using the about box form, which is a generic one, and the alternate one we created in our video on the about box. So I want to exclude those two forms from my project. So what I'm going to do is come over to the project area in the Solution Explorer, and I'm going to right click on the about box form, and I will exclude it from the project. Now it doesn't get rid of the project, it's still in the directory out there, but it's just not seen by the project itself. Also, the alternate about box I'm going to exclude as well to clean up my activity there. And then I'm going to go check on the resources of this particular project So I'm going to double click on my project here, and we'll come in and you'll see that one of the things I'm going to look at is to make certain my icon is there, and I've already brought into our resource area the icon and established that for the application. Now this is, as I said, a multi-layered icon, and this is one that allows for different sizes, so that if you're using Windows 8 operating system, you'll have different icon sizes to show up for your tablet or desktop, so you can change the icon sizes. Also, I want to come over to the assembly information area of the application and check to make certain I've set everything there. So I'm going to click on that. I've given it a title, a description, and I'm using my fictitious company, Bolen Computers, and the product is the text editor. Now, the actual assembly you'll see here is TXT editor. But this will be how the user will see the project as we go to the About box, as well as we'll see it later on as I do a ClickOnce deployment. So I want to check the assembly, make certain I've got that all filled in and set, and I'm going to click OK on that. And then I want to move on and double check my resources. We've done that already. Now I'm going to look at the project's application properties, and we've got those all set now. Main form is the startup form. We are using a lower level target framework of Network Framework 4 versus the current one that's available at this time. Now I'm going to click on the resource area on my left side for the project, and here's where I can make certain that I have the right resources there. And right now I'm not using Notepad 1 here, this icon, but I'm not going to delete it because I might turn out later on that I want to reactivate the About box into my project, which uses that. So I don't want to get rid of it, but you might want to get rid of resources that you don't want to have. You just highlight it and hit resource and remove it. Also, you'll see the icon there. We can have others in there. Maybe we want to clean up some activity. Basically, we want to make things tight and clean for our final release. So after I've checked and made certain I've got my resources correct, then I want to come down to the area of the references on this, and I'm going to go full screen again, or make it a little bit bigger. And one of the buttons I have over here under references is to click on unused references. This is the time where I want to clean up and get rid of things I'm not going to be using. I'm going to leave the system deployment in, but I'm going to take out these two. So I'm clicking those two with a check mark and hitting remove. And that tightens up things a little bit more for my project. Then I'm going to move on down to the area of the signing. And here's where I'm going to get ready for a ClickOnce. And what I want to do is I want to sign this ClickOnce manifest. And what I'm going to do is create a test certificate. Now, if you already have a certificate, there's where you might select from a file or from the store. I don't have a certificate, so I'm going to create a test one. And so I'll click create, and then I'm going to enter in a password for this. And then confirm the password. And I'm not certain I got those two right. No, I didn't. Let me try that again. Okay, now I think I have both of them the same. And that will create a certificate, and you'll see it over here in the Solution Explorer on that. And you'll also notice that it has an expiration date not too far out in the future, but far enough. But we also want to take care of a timestamp as well in case the certificate runs out. And so I'm going to grab real quickly the timestamp URL and paste it into the timestamp area. on that. This will go out to VeriSign and use their timestamp so that if this certificate runs out, the program will still be available for the user. So this takes care of the ClickOnce manifest. Now we're going to look at the assembly. We want to assign the assembly as well. And here we have the option of choosing a strong name key, and there are a number, and I have, if you don't have one, you click New, and you'll go through the option to create a strong key name. I already have one on file, so I'm going to go browse and pull mine in. So I'll come back, hit browse, and I'm going to go to my location where I have that. Let's see if it's under recent. Yes, right here is my strong name. On that, I'm going to pull that in, and that's one I use all the time. So now my assembly is also signed on it. So I've got those settings done. Then I'm going to come on down to the security area and enable ClickOnce security settings. And for this one, I want it to be a fully trusted application on this setting so that we're all set for our ClickOnce. And then I'm going to come down finally to the publish area. And here's where we set up where we're going to actually publish our deployment. Now we can use an FTP server, or we can also go with a file path. And I do have a file path that I'm going to use. I'm going to see if it's available in my drop-down. No, I'll have to key it in, and here we see that I can use the file system. And I'm going to go over and use this one. In fact, I want to do a real quick cleanup before I do that. Let me copy that. I'm going to clean up that area just to make certain that it's brand new for this application. And I'm going to come back. Since I've already deployed it once, I'm going to actually delete that out of there, and then we'll re-establish that. So I'm coming over here to the deploy, and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to say open, and now it doesn't have the new folder, it's empty, and I'm going to create it. So on my U drive in my deploy folder, I'm going to have another subfolder called text editor. Now if you had an FTP server, this would be where you'd have the path to that. And also if you had an URL to that installation that might be used later on for updates, you'd want to have that in there as well. Now one of the things we're going to look at is the install mode and settings, and we're going to raise the question, well, do I want to go out and check on things when this application launches, or make it available offline? And we're going to set it so that it is available offline for this particular one. Because we're going to be launching this as a CD or USB flash drive type of publication. Okay, I've got those set, and now I'm going to come over to the application file button. Click on it, and here we see the files that are going to be used in our program, and you see my icon coming in, the actual exe, and then the parts that are necessary for this. And we want to verify they're all included and they are also required. And so I'm going to say OK to that. Now if there is for some reason I want to exclude, I could choose to exclude them, but I want all those for this particular ClickOnce release. Then I'm going to go to prerequisites on the button, and you'll see that there are different prerequisites, one of which is the .NET Framework 4 that we're using. There are other, of course, .NET Framework 4 available at this time, but I built this one with a target release of 4. So that is a requirement, and so I'm going to create a setup program to install the prerequisites if the user does not have them. Then I'm going to come on down, and you'll see also one of the options is the Windows installer is part of that as well. So you'll see this change depending on what you're installing, and you can add those to it. Now we have the option as well as where does the user get those prerequisites from. Now I could build it within the application if I wanted to, but we're going to use the option, since most of this should probably be on a user's computer, since I back leveled it, I'm going to go with download the prerequisites from the components vendor's website instead of building it into my project itself. So this is the option I recommend for this simple project. For others, we might want to include the .NET framework, or maybe we'd even include Visual Basic Express or something if we needed that. But this sets that up so if the user does not have it, they are directed to the website to get the prerequisites needed for this program. Then we'll click OK. And then I'm going to go to the updates area. Now this is a CD or USB flash drive update. So I have this unchecked. The application doesn't need to check for updates because we're doing it from a CD. But if it was being done from a file share or from a server, then we might want to have it so that the user periodically checks to see if there are any updates to the program, and if so, takes the action necessary to do an update. But we're just doing it from a CD or USB flash drive, so we can leave this unchecked. Then I come into the options, and this is an important area to also check and go into, because this will be how we ultimately end up deploying it and making it special. So under description, publisher's name, I'm going to go with Bolen Computers. This will be how it will appear in the start menu. And under the product name, I'm going to call this text editor. Now this will be the name that will appear when we have a shortcut. Also how it will appear in the start menu. This will be the hierarchy where it will be found, so it will be found in that folder. So if I create a number of programs, I want to keep the publisher's name the same, but I'll change the text box or the product name as necessary. Also, if I have support URLs or error URLs that I want the user to go to, we can add those in at this point in this part. Now let's go to the deployment part of it. I'm going to click on that. And here's where I want to add for CD installation, automatically starts the setup when the CD is inserted. This creates a automatic file that pulls that in. So that is one I want to add to this particular one. You'll see there are other things I can add, and here's where if I was doing it from a web page, I'd have that information keyed in here as well. Now we're going to go look at the manifest area, and here's a special one for this particular application. We want to allow the URL parameters to be passed into our application. This is the part where we modified in the last video to allow for us to have parameter passing. So I want to allow a file name, in this case, to come in. So I have to check this one to allow that to occur. Also, I want to have create desktop shortcut as well to my application. And this application will trusted information. We'll have that set. So those are the three that I need to have set for this one. And I'll take care of this part of the manifest area. Now the exciting part is the file association. And here's where we key in things to make it the association we need. So one of the things is the association I want this program to be associated with is the extension of TXT on that. And I'm going to call that a plain text files. And we can create our own product ID, and for this one I'm going to call it TED for text editor, and I'm going to have the hierarchy of TXT for the program ID, and then I'm going to click on the icon area, hit the ellipsis, and go to in this case the resource area where I have my icon, and pull that in as well. So now I've associated an icon to the TXT extension. And also we designed this for the log files. So I want an LOG extension and plain text log files. And once again, I'll create a program ID and LOG for the extension. And once again, I'll go get the same icon. Now we can have different icons if we wanted, but I'm going to use the one of my Bolen icon. So we've got those set. So now the extensions, when we create the program, any TXT files or LOG files will now get the new icon and associate this program with those files. Okay, we've got everything set. Right now we've got our build set, and we can have this automatically increment as we produce our publish. And I could hit publish right now, but right now instead I'm going to hit save all. And the reason behind that is I want to do a last minute check to make certain everything is okay in our program. And I'm going to do a quick debug once more to make sure things are okay. But before I do that, since I've been doing this before, I want to clean my project. So I'm going to clean the whole project at this point and hit clean solution. This will clean up any things out there that I might have left over, including those about boxes that I didn't need. Now I'm going to do a debug, which will create things again, and I'll double check to make certain everything works. Now we see our icon. I'll just try to bring up a file to pull in, and I can real quickly do that, and it works. I'll check also to make certain that my about box looks good. I'll click on that. It's coming in fine. And I also want to just take a quick look at the other forms. I'm going to go to the find. It pulls in with my icon as well as my replace, and it too has my icon on that. So I've double checked everything in the debug mode, and I'm pretty comfortable that things are working fine. At this point I want to change my build action this time, and I'm going to change this over to release. And this will be the first time for the release action on that. And at this point I'll come up to the build area and just say build solution, and it'll build the release area. And I have built succeeded down the bottom showing up. And now I'll go over to our Solution Explorer, and what I'm going to click on is the showing all the files, and we're going to go in and look, and you'll see that I have in here in the bin folder I have both a debug and a release, and in my release area now I have my resource file with my icon in there, and I have everything necessary. Now if I were to do an X copy, what I would be doing is grabbing this folder, the release folder, and everything inside that folder for an X copy deployment, and everything will be there necessary for this program to run, including the actual program txteditor.exe. So everything is included with that, but now I'm going to do a publish instead. And so at this point in time I'm just going to go up to the area here where it says build, and I'm going to hit on publish text editor, and we'll see this kick in place, and this gives me a chance to reconfirm everything of which we lost that particular information. I want to make certain it goes to the text editor on it. So now it's got the right spot on that. I'm going to hit next, reconfirm here that I'm building it for a CD-ROM. Next, and the application will not check for updates, is what we set it for. And I'm double checking everything, and I'm going to hit finish. At this point, completing the operation, there it popped up, and we see in the U drive in the deploy folder, and now in the text editor subfolder, the things necessary for the installation. So what we would need to do is actually come up one level and take this and either zip it to a zip file to send over the internet or deploy it that way, or I could take this and burn it to a CD, or I could put it on a USB flash drive. But we're going to go ahead and install it on this machine now, and you'll see the install process. I'll hit the setup, and there it is coming in, and it's warning me that it's an unknown publisher. Remember, I used a test certificate, and so without it being with a test certificate from a authorized certificate location, this will happen. But we're going to trust myself and go ahead and hit install. And it's installing, and it fired up with my new one, and we'll go into the About box and we'll see we've got our text editor in place. Now let's take a look to see if our association that we had works as well. So I'm going to bring up the area, and notice now all my TXT files have my new icon on it. Now let's see if it'll come in when I click on those and pull it into my program. So now I'm going to pick oh, what's a good one here? Henry David Thoreau is what I like. Let me see if I can find him. Let me go by date modified. Maybe I can find it quicker that way. I don't see Henry David. I'll bring in good old Gettysburg Address again from Mr. Lincoln. Click on it, and there it came in. Now, it's working. I also want to check my font, and I'm going to change my font for this one so that I have maybe a little larger. I'm going to go navy for the font color. And I think I'll go with maybe Seago UI. Let's go with Seago UI print because I might end up printing this. I don't see Seago UI print right off. We'll just go, well, there it is. Seago print, I'll say apply. That's a little strange. Let's go with just UI. Apply that. That looks pretty good. And so we see our font change works fine. Let's double check and make certain that our print preview shows things correctly. And there's our print preview kicking in. And we see our font in our navy with Seago UI being printed, and it's only got one page for this one. And I could go ahead and hit print and send it to the printer if I wanted to. But we've got everything working on that. We've got our text editor all complete. We have the associations in there. In fact, if I wanted to run this, I could come down to my start menu, and I'm going to click on it again real quickly. And on the start menu, I'm going to create a log file. So I'm going to come up here and put in a timestamp and say text editor tested and installed. And so I've got a log, and then I'm going to hit save, and we're going to save this as a log file. So I'm going to change it to a log file, and we're going to put it in our text editor document, and I'm going to say project log and save it. And there we go. We've got project log.log, and we've got our information about our logging. And as I close this out, I'll hit this one to open up a new one since I saved it, and we'll see it out there in our browsing area. If I change it to log files, we'll see the log there, as well as another one I had produced on that. Let's see what that one has. And there it came in. I used a quick dummy one for that one. So we've got it done. Hey, isn't that exciting? We've gone from learning about all those little components that make up a Notepad text editor type project. We built it one step at a time over a number of steps, and we basically took our big project and chopped it up into small tasks and completed and tested each of those tasks as we built our project. And then finally we got to the point where we were ready for our whole project to be deployed. We branded it with our icon that we wanted to use. We made a file association to it and used the ClickOnce method to deploy it. And remember, with the ClickOnce method, all I need to do is go out to the file location where I deployed that. It might be the publish folder in my project if I hadn't overridden it, but I chose to go to a special folder, And all I need to do is take that and zip it if I wanted to make it small and give it to somebody else, perhaps over email, or I just burn that whole folder to a CD or put it on a flash drive with a copy. And the other thing is, since I built a release, clean release as well, if I choose to do an Xcopy version of a deployment, everything in that release subfolder in my project is also one area that I'll grab and then pull to a new computer if I wanted to, and create some manual associations necessary. But the ClickOnce method is great. I recommend it for simple projects. Get to use the ClickOnce method and feel comfortable with it. I have other video on the ClickOnce method that goes into a little bit more detail, but you saw that I created a icon for two file associations for the TXT extension and the LOG extension. On that, associated an icon to it, and when I installed the ClickOnce method, those file associations went into place. Also on my desktop, I got the shortcut for my text editor project, and it looks just like my logo. And so I'm really a happy camper at this point, and now I have the joy of sharing this project with other people as well. And if you create a project as well that's nice and professional like, you might want to share it as well, and share your fun of creativity, of programming, and also share something that might help others in productivity in their work. Mine's a little bit different than Notepad. It does things that Notepad doesn't do. And so I've added some value to my text editor that Microsoft didn't have in their original one. So get your hands dirty in the code. Go out to pastebin/u/jboh. Look at the code, see every little step. Watch the videos at Bolen Presents at YouTube, and learn more about visualbasic.net. And make certain to go out to Microsoft's Development Network, MSDN, and take a look at the references to parts of the code so you'll understand the code itself. And then get your hands dirty in the code, make your own project, try something out, and have the fun of being a programmer. So take care, and I hope you've enjoyed this series. If you do, give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate seeing it. Take care.